Jon, Anik, and Kenny Florian podcast. Jon, Anik, and Kenny Florian.
I fucking love them. I can't get enough of them.
Let's hear that Boston next.
Big jab there from Duffy, and Frank Mir is hurt now. Down goes Duffy, out cold. Frank Mir does it again. Rock'em sock'em robots here. Oh my goodness.
Hyperbole. There are a couple of absolutely self-involved bullshit artists.
Here are your hosts, Jon, Anik, and Kenny Florian.
Took me 450 episodes to get a proper studio. But here we are, KenFlo. There's some philosophical saying about the space you're in relative to your production and your overall happiness. Daniel Cormier asked me recently, man, you and KenFlo coming up on 9 years of the Anik and Florian podcast presented by DraftKings. Great to have you with us today and always. But he said, how do you guys come up with things to talk about? And I said, this is the only time I would get with KenFlo. I got to sort of like isolate this guy and give him a podcast. But this new space just feels so re-energizing. And I don't know how it sounds. I don't know how it looks. But thanks to Media Zone, Mike Jones, KenFlo. First episode in the new studio. I got my KenFlo t-shirt today. We're ready to go.
Who? Mike Jones. Dude, it looks phenomenal. It sounds excellent. You look great. I love the lighting. The camera looks sharp. The only problem now my setup looks like crap. So I got to step up. I got to level up along with you, my friend.
Well, it's all an evolution. Your shot looks great in terms of whatever they call that stuff on your wall unit. What do they call that stuff?
Dude, my wife's like, it's too busy. You got too much crap there. You gotta clean it up. So I got to rethink everything.
So we've been working hard to get this new studio ready for the Anik and Florian podcast. We will also tape other shows in here. Remember, the show with Bilal Muhammad will originate out of this space in all likelihood, as will Anik Squared, our seasonal NFL podcast. So we got a 3-camera shot. We got nobody in seat number 2 today. My daughter was going to join us, but alas, she is not here. If you're watching, I'm switching cameras here. Now, our executive producer, Cody Merrow, is probably going to not be thrilled with me at the end of today's episode. So here's our wide shot. Here is our camera 3. So when Dean Thomas or anybody else comes in studio here in South Florida, that'll be their seat. And this will be the shot that you see. So I'll have to sort of clean up my unit, my area here, KenFlo. But this is where we're at.
Well, I like the fact that we have proof that Jon Anik wears shorts. He's wearing stuff underneath his shirt. Oh. You can't quite see it for me, but so you don't really know. But Jon Anik, he's got shorts on. He's a professional. Come on.
So I got to be careful because you guys can see everything down low. Thankfully, I'm not just wearing my undergarments today. We do have the KenFlo t-shirt on. Amazing Wolverine design. And you can get this right now at jonanik.com, incidentally, the entire store. I don't know if there's a promo code right now, but jonanik.com, we have all new designs by Average Joe Art. Nothing average about him. I love this design. And that is one of many others that you can access right now at jonanik.com. All proceeds, well, not all proceeds. Some go to charity. Some go to fucking Ray Longo, right? Some go to support the Anik and Florian LLC team, Cody Merrow, Brian Petrie, our fine intern, Will Berger. Will Berger needs a new title, so maybe production assistant isn't even strong enough. But it's great to be with all you fine folks. I'm not technologically inclined, so I'm like recording it on this end, which is very interesting. But yeah, we're excited to go wide. If we want to fucking go wide, we'll go wide. We'll go back to the single shot KenFlo, and eventually we'll have an in-studio guest, maybe even Kenny Florian in that seat.
I love Jon Anik with new toys. It's the best.
I don't know if you should have put me at the controls. I am no Anthony Giordano, our great longtime UFC director. All right. So it is Sunday, November 19th, 2023. It is episode 450 of the Anik and Florian podcast presented by DraftKings. We are on the DraftKings network once this week because of the Thanksgiving holiday. We are on the DraftKings YouTube channel, clips on the Anik and Florian podcast YouTube channel as well. And everything has been compartmentalized at jonanik.com. But we have a lot to get into today. UFC Fight Night, Allen versus Craig. We will recap that. KenFlo, holiday week for the PFL. I mean, what are you doing for Thanksgiving? You breaking bread with George X? Is that what's going on? And Manny?
I will. I'm going to be probably looking at guys taking their clothes off and getting on a scale. So we do something like that. It's weigh-in day for me. Not that I'm weighing in, thankfully. But yeah, I'm at work, dude. I miss Thanksgiving. It's funny because when I was fighting, I would always miss Thanksgiving just so I wouldn't put on weight. I would always go up to Canada where they don't celebrate Thanksgiving just so I wouldn't tempt myself. But here we are again.
So the weigh-in is on Thanksgiving Day. Is that Thanksgiving morning?
Thanksgiving morning, exactly. Then we have like a show later on in the night. It's like, yeah. Anyways, it's hilarious. It's hilarious.
Right.
But I gotta say, I gotta give a shout out to my wife who actually made a little mini Thanksgiving dinner for me and the family last night. So that was very kind, Clark. Thank you very much.
All right. Well, we will, time permitting, get into some of those matchups. I was sort of thinking, right? And I don't know contractually what my contract says. I don't even know where the thing is right now. But can I make predictions in the main event challenge on Olivier Mercier versus Clay Collin?
Yes.
See, part of the impetus for me stopping making picks, and by the way, I haven't made a pick on the record for the UFC since 2016. I think there was a 209 tattoo. I don't remember the exact circumstance. But part of the impetus was, you may call a future fight involving Nate Diaz and Conor McGregor, even if you don't go on the record and pick a fight. And I guess it's not out of the realm of possibility that Clay Collin would make his way back to the UFC. So if I were to go on the record picking Olivier Mercier, maybe that wouldn't be ideal. And not for nothing, you fucking hate making picks. So why try and get myself if I don't have to?
This is true.
It's just a gambler in me that wants
to do it to yourself
on Josh Silveira and Impa Kasanganay. Cody, if you could chase some betting lines and maybe populate those into the chat, that would just be outstanding. But we have a lot to get into. UFC Fight Night, Allen versus Craig. We will talk to the PFL's Derek Brunson, who is fighting Ray Cooper III coming up this weekend. And we will talk to Ray Longo as well. We'll also talk to Spencer Miller on the back end of the program. But let us get into Brendan Allen. And man, seems like a polarizing contender already, which I think is a pretty good thing. You want people to have an opinion, but this was a UFC Fight Night built around the middleweight division, Brendan Allen, and the relative divisional newcomer, Paul Bearju Craig. And it goes to Brendan Allen by submission. Rear naked choke comes at the 38-second mark of round 3, KenFlo. And seems like one of your type of guys, Brendan Allen. 5 of the wins on this 6-fight winning streak have come by rear naked choke. We got a new middleweight contender, if he was not that already going into the weekend.
He did so many great things. I'll try to stay focused because so much went on. There were so many great exchanges that I'd love to talk about. But for me, I think it's his consistency, his ability to not make any mistakes anymore, and to fight with a certain level of composure and confidence that I'm not sure he had a couple years ago. He always had the talent. He always had the skills in various areas of mixed martial arts, but now he's really putting it together. He believes in himself, and he was just always 2 or 3 steps ahead of Paul Craig. There was one close call on that leg lock attempt that Paul Craig had, but besides that, I don't see an area where Paul Craig had anything on Brendan Allen. And you see a guy like Paul Craig walk into that octagon, and you're going, man, this guy is absolutely massive. What is Brendan Allen going to do with that reach? What is he going to do when he locks up with a guy that big? Well, he's going to throw him on his head. That's what he's going to do. He's going to feint him from the outside, use his speed, land shots whenever he wants, keep him guessing, and just dominate the fight start to finish. So I think that's what was so impressive. Extremely dominant. And again, for a lot of jiu-jitsu guys out there who are watching someone like a Brendan Allen, use that ground and pound to advance your position. And that's what Brendan Allen did so well. If he wasn't passing the guard, he was smashing the guard with short elbows, hammer fists, and punches. It was just beautiful to watch, man. This was a complete performance from Brendan Allen. He did it at the right time in a big main event spot.
There was one compromising situation in the fight for Brendan Allen on the ground. Could you talk us through that a little bit? Obviously, his submission defense held up in that moment against a very dangerous guy who really only needs one opening to finish the fight.
Yes, absolutely. Now, Dominic Cruz was talking about that scorpion lock or that lockdown position from half guard that Paul Craig was utilizing. And he has such long levers with his legs that he was extending the leg of Brendan Allen from that position. And he picked up the leg, started torquing it. So there was a little bit of torque on the knee. It then became a calf slicer. And I thought Brendan Allen did a great job of actually turning, giving his back, which was going to allow his other leg to get into play so he can actually pry his leg out of that position. If he didn't do that, he would have at the very least dealt with a bad knee injury. Hopefully his leg is still okay because it was a little bit funky in there. But I thought it was a great job by Brendan Allen to get his other leg involved. It looked like he was giving up his leg in the meantime. or giving up his back, in the meantime, then attacked the other leg of Paul Craig, which got Paul to actually play defensively. He was able to get out of that and scramble and get superior position, but just excellent stuff there. But that was the closest Paul Craig was in that fight.
Yeah.
And it was tricky, but I think for Brendan Allen moving forward, there's something he can do to really not let himself in that position. When someone is using a lockdown, it can be very frustrating because it stops you from really advancing your position very well. And if he just takes his other leg and kind of lifts up that bottom leg of Paul Craig, he can then unwind his own leg. But anyways, he did a great job regardless. And that was an interesting scramble for sure.
I have so many good things to say about Brendan Allen. He is a big game player. And we have talked at times here on the Anik and Florian podcast about fighters bringing their kids around. I think I mentioned Beneil Dariush had children, young children staying in his hotel room. And I sort of wondered aloud if that was a great move. Brendan Allen is so present, Kenny, that he can do his fighter arrival for a UFC main event. Now, maybe his daughter would not have been so omnipresent if this was not at the UFC Apex and this was some big arena, right? But what is she, 3 years old? He's doing his main event fighter arrival with his daughter, right? She's there for his media scrum. And then when he comes out into the octagon, he's like looking around for where his daughter is in the crowd.
Right.
And to me, it just speaks to how locked in this guy is and how fight night just is not too big for him. And we talk so much about how guys maybe train better than they fight or vice versa. We talked about it recently with Tom Aspinall. I don't know if there's any question here, more of a comment, Kenny. I just think Brendan Allen is ready for prime time, capable in prime time. And he's one of the few guys, I think, maybe 5% of the roster who can have his kids around. And once the bright lights come on, he's absolutely locked in and ready to perform.
I think it's an important point to make. I mean, it was something that I thought about as he was walking out with his very cute daughter in that little Burberry dress. It was adorable, but I wouldn't be able to do that. I definitely wouldn't have been able to do that. I think that it's a difficult thing. Just competing in any professional setting and having your children there is difficult. When you're talking about going in there to fight another human being in the UFC's octagon, there's a lot on the line and there's a lot you need to think about because, of course, the child is, processing things. I think, if she is there watching, thinking about her dad in some very intense situations can be disruptive. And you're thinking about, your own kid, maybe how they're reacting to that stuff. But the fact that he was able to stay focused like that is a testament to him as a professional and how he is able to focus, be relaxed and do his job. And also, I'm sure he found some motivation from that, having his daughter there. That I'm sure that buoyed him tremendously. And it's, of course, a great reminder of why he's doing what he's doing.
So Cody's asking me to kill the audio from mic 2 on my board. I mean, it's already killed, my man, like it's potted down. So feel free to chat away if there's something else that I could do. I also would say of Brendan Allen, for those who are promoters of cussing in front of children, we appreciated that with him cussing away during the media scrum. All right, so I have a huge defense to make of Brendan Allen as like middleweight title contender here, KenFlo. And these are my notes here. I mean, maybe we go 3 wide right now. So I've been taking notes on all these middleweight contenders all morning, right? Not handicapping the NFL, but talking about these guys that potentially Brendan Allen could fight. And first, before we get there, how about looking at some of the recent challenges that Brendan Allen has accepted? And by the way, this is a guy who is very calculated about his career. I remember at one point he was saying, February, June, October, right? And if you look, Kenny, it's been February, June, October, February, June, November, right? But how many people were wanting to fight Andre Muniz when he submitted him, right? Not a whole lot. Bruno Silva can be a real problem, super dangerous middleweight, right? We saw what he did against Alex Pereira. And then Paul Berju-Craig moving down from light heavyweight, given the way he looked in his UFC light heavyweight debut. They're not giving Brendan Allen easy fights. They're giving him tough fights. Dominic Cruz would say this is the perfect way to sort of methodically build contender, right? And I think he has passed every test with flying colors. If you want to go back to the most recent setback, you go back all the way to December of 2021 against Chris Curtis. Then you have to go back to the TKO loss to Sean Strickland, Kenny. COVID climate, November 2020. It was at a catch weight of 195 pounds. Sean Strickland was supposed to fight the week prior. There was a COVID issue, I think, perhaps involving his opponent. So he sticks around to compete, maybe to make the money or whatever. So the Strickland fight, I'm not saying there's an asterisk on it, but those guys have history and there were circumstances surrounding it, right?
Yep.
So Marvin Vettori, Robert Whittaker, Paulo Costa, Jared Cannonier, those are guys 3 through 6, Kenny. And I would sit here and much more advocate for Brendan Allen fighting one of those guys in a title eliminator than fighting Jack Hermanson, for example, who's number 9 in the world, who he was previously booked against. At this point in time, given this 6-fight winning streak, given that there have been 5 finishes, before I get into the numbers on some of these other contenders, what are your thoughts, knowing Strickland's defending against Dricus du Plessis, as to who you would like to see next for the budding contender, Brendan Allen?
Yeah, I'll say that anytime there's any kind of regime change, that is when the empire is most vulnerable, right? So we have this new champion in Sean Strickland, and Brendan Allen's no dummy. He understands what's at stake here. He understands that, hey, not everybody makes it to the dance, even when a fight is booked. So obviously, Dricus du Plessis and Sean Strickland are scheduled to go at it at some point in Toronto next year. Was it February or January?
Yeah, January 20th.
Right. So, he could step in there for one of those guys who could potentially get injured. And of course, he likes his chances against either of those guys. For me, I wouldn't even mention Jared Cannonier. For him, it just shows how confident he is, that he's saying, I want the best guys. I deserve a title shot. He made his case. He won in a main event spot. That's exactly what you do when they give you the mic in a main event spot, and you just not just won, but massacred another dude in a fight. Dude. So, Brendan Allen was firing on all cylinders, dude. And he did it again. He did it on the ground against Paul Craig, where he is most dangerous. Paul Craig was submitting guys at 205 pounds, and Brendan Allen made Paul Craig look like he wasn't very good on the ground. Like, that's how good Brendan Allen looked. The kid has got skills. He knows it now. He's executing what he needs to. I thought everything about that was perfect.
So I have no control over that. I went a little long for my face. I could probably pot it the fuck down, but that's just to bide me some time to get my notes organized. As we go through this middleweight top 10. So Sean Strickland is the champion. Israel Adesanya is the number 1 contender, seemingly on some sort of leave of absence. Dricus du Plessis is the number 2 ranked contender. Then you have Robert Whittaker, number 3, Jared Cannonier, number 4. He is injured. Marvin Vettori, number 5, Paulo Costa, number 6 on the mend. Roman Dolidze, number 7, Khamzat Chimaev, 8, and on it goes. So let me just get to Jared Cannonier. I'll try to do this as expeditiously as possible to try to move through the rest of some of these winners from UFC Fight Night, Michael Morales and the rest. So Jared Cannonier is number 4 in the world. He's 39 years of age, 7 total middleweight wins, maybe not as many as you would expect. 1 middleweight title shot. Best win for Jared Cannonier at 185 pounds, a split decision over Sean Strickland. I love Jared Cannonier, but I did think he lost that fight. 3 of the last 4 wins for Jared Cannonier have come by way of decision, right? Number 3, Robert Whittaker. I think this fight makes a shit ton of sense, albeit maybe not as much for Robert Whittaker. He's lost 2 of his last 3. Last finish for Robert Whittaker, Jacare Souza, 2017. Marvin Vettori, the number 5 ranked contender, has lost 3 of his last 5. His last 7 fights have gone the distance. Number 6 ranked contender, Paulo Costa, has lost 2 of his last 3. Last finish was in 2018 against Uriah Hall, the night DC and Stipe fought for the first time. It was UFC 226, right? Then you have Khamzat Chimaev, number 8 in the world, who is injured, and number 7, Roman Dolidze, who is coming off a loss to Marvin Vettori. Then you have Brendan Allen, Kenny, who I believe now has the division's longest winning streak. He has won 6 consecutive fights, and unlike most of the names I just mentioned, he put away 5 of those guys. He hasn't been in a boring fight. His style, in theory, would be a matchmaker's dream, and he's a real effing problem for a lot of these middleweight strikers. So I would turn it back to you and say, who would you like to see Brendan Allen fight next, and how many fights away is this guy really to the championship, if I'm wrong to suggest that a title eliminator is next?
Yeah, listen, I think a fight against Robert Whittaker probably makes sense. You beat someone like that, who's a true legend in the sport, a guy who has been a champion in that division. That's the icing on the cake for me. So I think that's the fight that makes the most amount of sense. So,
yeah, I mean, it's just difficult, right, to get guys to sign on the dotted line. And Brendan Allen, I think, came in number 10 in the world. And I don't know if he can get that big fight. But Marvin Vettori is not the turning down type. And what's so interesting as I went through this morning, all of these guys have history against each other. None of them really have fought Brendan Allen, right? He hasn't fought Adesanya. He hasn't fought Duplessis. He hasn't fought Robert Whittaker. He hasn't fought Cannonier. He hasn't fought Vettori. Hasn't fought Paulo Costa. Hasn't fought Dolidze, Khamzat, Jack Hermanson. He's fucking fought none of them, right? And as I'm Wikipediaing all morning, very easy to bounce around from middleweight contender to middleweight contender because they've all fought each other. Brendan has fought none of them. All right. Hopefully that wasn't too long-winded, but congratulations to Brendan Allen. Looks absolutely outstanding in the purple Mark Russell suit, right? Let's get the man the purple shorts. And I even thought when Izzy was the champion that this was a particularly challenging stylistic matchup, right? Brendan Allen puts guys away. Fear is not a factor for him. And I think for Paul Craig, right, I'm excited to see him moving forward at 185 pounds. It's always interesting when the guy who is, leads the league in intensity, right, gets totally dominated. And then the other guy just talks shit every step of the way after the fight. But I do think Paul Craig will be heard from, KenFlo.
Yeah, listen, I think that there's a major deficiency in regards to athleticism with him. I thought he'd be way stronger in some of those clinch situations, and it just wasn't there. Now, that's obviously a testament to Brendan Allen as well. But if you're coming down from 205 pounds and getting manhandled like that, certainly some technique could be improved, but even in some of the exchanges on the feet, he's just a little bit too slow, a little bit too weak in some of those areas, and he really is talented on the ground. And I thought he showed great improvements with his striking in his last fight, his debut at 185 pounds. But here we really never saw it come to fruition. So. Yeah, I think he also kind of suffers from a little bit of inconsistency. I don't know if that's a mental thing or not, but, Paul Craig definitely can contend with these guys. We just haven't seen, him put together performances back to back to back. And I do think it's still new for him being at 185 pounds. Maybe there's a weight cut issue there, but I don't know. I hope he's able to regroup because he really is a nice guy with some good skills.
All right. Congratulations to Brendan Allen. I think a middleweight contender that's going to be heard from, and we'll see what happens with Paul Bearju Craig. All right. Co-main event goes to Michael Morales over Jake Matthews. And we said of the Ecuadorian Michael Morales just continuing to accrue UFC experience. And gosh, I mean, he just looks ready to explode and concuss people. But again, it's a unanimous decision win for him, 30-27. And then 29-28 times 2 against the UFC tried and tested Jake Matthews. Your thoughts on the co-main event, KenFlo?
If I am a welterweight contender, if I'm a welterweight champion, I am keeping a file on Morales. Absolutely, because he is a guy that you need to scout out. He is a guy that is accruing that experience, as you mentioned, and that could really be very difficult for a lot of fighters as he moves forward because he's getting a very good understanding of how to put things together. He's getting a great understanding of how to be slick out there at a very young age with not so much experience at this stage of the game. And that's scary to me. Athletically, he's there. He can absolutely be elite. I think that I'd like to see more of him on the ground. I think he had a few, shots where he was trying to take Jake Matthews down. He was shooting from a little bit too far away. But as far as his striking goes, his shot selection, his countering, his ability to adapt, his ability to disrupt the base of Matthews, his size as a welterweight, he's going to be a problem. I guarantee it. And, him getting more and more experience is not good for the rest of the guys in that division. Of course, this is a stacked division. There's a ton of talent in that division, but watch for him in a couple years. Keep a close eye on this kid because I do think he's that good.
I just kept finding myself wondering how this fight would have played out with a crowd. And I guess the answer is similarly, but just some of those shots, man, I don't know if it's that I'm watching it at home and it's like quiet at my house. And I don't know if I'm overreacting to these shots, but I don't know. I'm excited for these guys to get back in front of a crowd as well. I just felt like it maybe would have been an inspiring backdrop to that particular fight. All right, so a lot of the handicappers had strong opinions on Chase Hooper versus Jordan Leavitt, and we were sort of lauding Chase Hooper's overall body of work, Kenny, and he wins a fight that the odds makers at least suggested he was supposed to win over Jordan Leavitt. goes into the books as a rear naked choke, and it comes quickly 258 of round number 1. Your thoughts on Chase Hooper getting another UFC win, my man?
Yeah, I think that if I had a choice of picking that fight again, I still would have gone with Jordan Levitt. He had his opportunities in that fight. He was letting Chase Hooper back into this fight. He was almost putting himself into some of these submissions. Of course, you have to give credit to Chase Hooper, but I don't know. It seemed like Jordan Levitt would do something awesome and then kind of put himself into trouble again, and then it would just keep happening over and over. And I go, you cannot give a guy like Chase Hooper, who is an excellent finisher, these opportunities. Yet he kept doing it. So Jordan is an excellent grappler, but Chase is a very good finisher. I think that was the difference here. When he had his opportunities, he was able to take care of business here. Some interesting exchanges. I think more of it was kind of mistakes back and forth, but Chase is a guy who continues to get better. And I think this was a case of two guys who were trying to get to that next level. They were kind of in my eyes, guys that were kind of right in the kind of the middle of the division that were trying to break through. And it was Chase Hooper who was ultimately able to do that. And I thought this was kind of a failure for Jordan Levitt, who's got some great potential, does some great things out there, but just kind of kept making mistakes. And you can't do that against someone like Hooper, who is not going to forgive.
A lot of submissions on the night. Peyton Talbot had one over Nick Aguirre. Nick Aguirre was game, but Peyton Talbot sort of just an intriguing package for me. I wanted to ask you about Amanda Ribas. She gets it done over Luana Pinheiro, but not without taking like 6 hematomas, but it's a spinning wheel kick and punches at 353 of round 3. Is Amanda Ribas, so when you suggest that someone's like the action hero of the 115-pound division, I think it's suggestive of them not being a contender. So it's a roundabout way of asking you where her ceiling is at, but I think she sort of settled into this this action role. The Macy Barber fight was just pints of blood all over Duval County, and now a pretty violent affair here with Luana Pinheiro. She gets a bonus and a TKO.
Yeah, I think that's a solid observation. Now, I don't think that's a long-term goal that she should have, right? You don't want to be known as someone who can take a lot of damage. However, it's a good trait to have, just in case. She is durable. She is tough. She should absolutely have that, but she should keep that in her back pocket. She cannot lead with that, because having a first round like that is not the way you want to start a fight. And I think that she sometimes gets too excited, maybe too emotional, where she doesn't loosen up. She was a little too tight. Her body was a little too square in her stance, which offers a much larger target to her opponent. And Pinheiro was tagging her with shots. Pinheiro's got some crazy power at 115 pounds, dude. And also, by the way, her judo is absolutely beautiful. When she puts it together, man, she was throwing Ribas around, and Ribas is a high-level judoka, but Pinheiro was just at a different level. So skill-wise, I think she's she needs more skill. She needs more. She needs to be more comfortable in there with people like Pinheiro. And I think that she was a little too stiff, but once she actually got through round 1, I think she started to settle down. She started to relax, started finding her range and landing big shots herself. And I think Pinheiro also was thrown off by the fact that Ribas is so damn tough and so durable that she started to lose heart. She started to lose confidence. And that's what durability and a great chin and heart will do. So again, huge credit to Ribas. She is an absolute savage, an absolute beast, but she needs to fix how she starts in fights. She cannot get behind the 8 ball like that in other fights, especially as she starts to establish herself as elite in that division, because those ladies are just too damn good, and they're not going to get tired later in a fight.
Outstanding, KenFlo. Out-fucking-standing. If you could only imagine how good it sounds in these new cans, the new equipment, you know. All right, Joe Anderson Brito, KenFlo. I am such an asshole. Joe Anderson Brito, you texted the group that you wanted max units or added units on Joe Anderson Brito. He wins it with a ninja choke over JSP Jonathan Pierce, who will be back. Make no mistake about it. But Joe Anderson Brito, KenFlo, a guy that everybody has marked now, and I think rightfully so. You were bullish on him. How come? And your thoughts on the fight?
Yeah, he's just dangerous, man, and he is game. You know, when I was looking at his fights, I went back. I said, I'm going to look at these fights again. I think there's some value here. I think Pierce is probably more solid all the way around as far as his vulnerabilities. Doesn't make as many mistakes as Brito, but I thought it was worth putting more units on Brito just because he goes for it, man. He's not trying to hit you. He's trying to hurt you. He's trying to finish you with every chance he gets. Sometimes gets a little too aggressive, as we saw when he tried to jump on the back of Pierce early, got lost position. But athletically, he was superior, and his finishing ability is what impressed me most. And dealing with a guy like that who is trying to kill you every single second of that fight, I thought there was a lot of value there. Pierce did a great job when he was getting that top position, but he just wasn't able to control that honey badger in Brito. And I'm glad I ended up putting on those units. It ended up paying off. But Brito is dangerous, dude. He is extremely dangerous. And I think it was also tough for Pierce. He was coming off of a long layoff. It's hard to get in that groove when you've been away from the octagon for that long. For most people, for most fighters, I think that's the case.
Also thought Christian Leroy Duncan just physically looked to have responded in the gym to his first professional loss, I believe, as he gets it done over Dennis Tululin by TKO. More coming up on UFC Fight Night, Allen versus Craig in the Ray Longo minute in about 20 minutes or so. Just wanted to acknowledge a few Bellator winners over the weekend and then get KenFlo's thoughts real quick on PFL 10. Cody did populate some betting lines in here incidentally on PFL 10, so I'm going to get back to those. But Jason Jackson becomes the Bellator welterweight champion, and Patchy Mix in a unification bout defeats Sergio Pettis by rear naked choke. Patchy Mix, I think most people understand now, is one of the best 35ers in the world, and certainly Bellator's future remains to be seen as to where these champions are going to go. But I just want to get to Jason Jackson a little bit because I have met and gotten to sort of hang out with this dude on buses, right, as he corners his Killcliff teammates with the UFC. So he tried out for the Ultimate Fighter in 2015. He's now 33 years of age. Then he is on Dana White's Contender Series in 2017. He suffered an ankle injury and a TKO loss. Right then, there was a 2019 split decision loss to Ed Ruth, former three-time NCAA D1 national champion wrestler, right? And that has since, that loss to Ed Ruth, been followed up by a 7-fight winning streak, capstone by just beating a guy who was 27-0 to become the Bellator welterweight champion. And gosh, man, it just makes me feel so good, in my heart for a guy like this who you've seen on these buses, maybe knowing how good he was, KenFlo, waiting for his moment. I didn't even know who Jason Jackson was when I met him. I didn't know that he had tried out for the Ultimate Fighter. I don't ingest the Contender Series every Tuesday night because I got kids, right? So I didn't even know his history, except I knew that he was really good and his teammates liked him. He was a good teammate. Yeah, and then I started digging into him a little bit and seeing a guy like that become a world champion, man. That's just, it's just super special, man. Changes his life financially and otherwise. Just really happy for Jason Jackson. Yeah,
no question about it. And he's a guy I always see at the PFL events as well. He's cornering, I think, every fighter at the Killcliff gym. He's always around, which, tells you a lot. When you see fighters that choose to have him in there, they must respect his training ability, his experience, and his mind. And I think this is a guy who's been grinding for a long time. To see it all come together for him is great news. Always friendly guy, always smiling. And that's a good sign, dude. Good news there.
Jason Jackson, Patchy Mix. Congratulations on your world championships. All right. That's enough of that. See, I can pot that shit right down if it annoys me. It's outstanding. We're getting going on the Roadcaster a little bit. Scale of 1 to 10 in the comments. How annoyed are you by me today? Just wait till the Ray Longo minute. All right. PFL 10 beckons this Friday night, November 24th at the Anthem in Washington, D.C. You thought I was going to say New York City again, but no. We're actually here on a Sunday because I'm going to New York City with my children. God bless me. Help me. All right. So I just want to do a little bit of treetops on this PFL stuff. We got Longo coming up here shortly. Derek Brunson in about 5 minutes. But I just want to rifle through some of these big fights and just get any sort of overreaching thoughts you have before we move on. So Olivier Aubin-Mercier versus Clay Collard. Collard plus 220 right now. KenFlo OAM is minus 270. Henan Fajeda. Dennis, is it Goltsov? Am I pronouncing
Dennis
that?
Goltsov.
Denis Goltsov in the heavyweight division. Larissa Pacheco, she got a shout out on a UFC broadcast by Jon Anik recently, by the way. Magomed Karamov taking on Sadabu C. Josh Silveira and Impa Kasanganay, a fight of particular interest for me. Of course, Conan's son taking on Impa Kasanganay, who I run in all over South Florida. And then Kayla Harrison is back against the relatively short notice replacement, if I'm not mistaken, Aspen Ladd. And our next guest, Derek Brunson, taking on Ray Cooper III. On and on it goes. You got Biagio, Ali Walsh, Chris Wade, Bubba Jenkins. But your thoughts initially, KenFlo, on the main card, ESPN Plus pay-per-view, KenFlo with a hot microphone. I'll be watching on November 24th. KenFlo, talk to me.
Right on, man. Thank you. Yeah, no, I'm really excited, man. All the finals that I've been a part of have always delivered. You know, you got $1 million on the line. So obviously both of these fighters realize that, you know, this is an insane opportunity to really and genuinely change your life. So they always fight extremely hard. We always get a lot of finishes. We always get a lot of excitement. We have Kayla Harrison coming back. Yeah, I'm just, I can't wait to get out there and call these fights. And, you know, these guys have been working extremely hard. As you know, John, you start to get close to a lot of these guys. You know, you see how much they've gone through personally and in the cage. And there's just so many great matchups that I'm looking forward to. So, November 24th.
I mean,
6
largely
championships on the line.
I don't know if your bosses are listening. I will purchase this pay-per-view because Kenny Florian is calling the fight. And I'm not trying to be funny. I'm wearing a Kenny Florian shirt. President of Team Florian, fine.
Yeah,
I'm just saying. No, I'm just talking in facts. You know, Brendan Allen appreciated my tweet that said, you know, title eliminator has to be next. And, you know, 90% of people think I'm a shill and it's hyperbolic, and it's not none of those things, right? Like, even when Brendan appreciates that, it's like, hey, man, like, we might be friends, but I'm just speaking in facts, right? He's won 6 in a row, 185 pounds, 5 of those by rear naked choke, right? I'm just speaking in facts, right? Like, I love all these fighters. Kayla Harrison is my girl, but why am I buying the pay-per-view? KenFlo on a hot fucking microphone, let's be honest. So Impa Kasanganay is minus 162 and Josh Silveira is plus 136. And this kind of feels like the ultimate win-win for me, because for Conan, right, to see his son realize $1 million, right, in this particular format, and to realize some modicum of mixed martial arts greatness by becoming a world champion. And then for Impa Kasanganay, on the wrong end of the Joaquin Buckley knockout, on the wrong end of the most virally robust knockout in UFC history, for Impa to respond in this way. It's a tremendous fight. And hopefully there isn't like a draw type circumstance, right? Hopefully one of those guys wins $1 million. All right. We got the PFL's Derek Brunson coming up here in about a minute, but you know what time of year it is. So much to be thankful for. Family, friends, food, and NFL football all week long. Well, DraftKings Sportsbook is keeping your Thanksgiving week full of action. New customers can bet just $5 on the NFL to score 150 instantly in bonus bets. And no matter your specific competitive nature, there is something for all of you out there. Money lines, parlays, props, live bets, and so much more. You name it, they've got it. 3 games coming up Thursday. And then for the first time, a game on Black Friday. The Dolphins right now 6-point favorites on the look ahead at the New York Jets. What a time of year to be in the game. So all you need to do, download the DraftKings Sportsbook app. Not now, but right now. Use code AFPOD. New customers can bet $5 on the NFL Thanksgiving action to score 150 instantly in bonus bets only on DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. With code AFPOD, the crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. In West Virginia, visit 1-800-GAMBLER.net. Please play responsibly. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, must be 21 or older in most eligible states, but age varies by jurisdiction. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details and state-specific responsible gambling resources. Eligibility and deposit restrictions apply. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. Terms at sportsbook.draftkings.com/football terms. All right, let us get to our interview with DB, taped 2 weeks from this very date. All right, now joining us for the first time on the show, absolutely thrilled to have him, 21-time UFC veteran, 6-time UFC headliner, longtime mixed martial arts veteran and middleweight contender, Wilmington, North Carolina's finest. He is Derek Brunson on social media. You can find him at Derek Brunson. DerekBrunson.com is live. DB, happy Sunday to you. We appreciate your time today, sir. How are we doing?
I'm good. How are you guys?
We're doing well. So there's a lot for us to get into today. I know we're all very excited about what the future holds for you, particularly later this month. I have ingested some of the media you have done since signing with the PFL. So I guess I would just start with this move at this time of your career. And for those that maybe haven't been tracking your every move, why now to leave the UFC and go pursue this new venture?
It's a fresh start. I wanted something new. I wanted something to get excited about. I was in the UFC for so long in that top, 5, top 10 range, and I really wasn't, I didn't get my title shot. So, I just wanted something new, something fresh, a new goal, a new motivation, and here we are.
So twice in your UFC career, you put together these 5-fight winning streaks in a division that makes it very hard to do just that. And I guess I would ask you, what would you say to someone like Belal Muhammad, right? Because for you and for somebody like Curtis Blades, had you guys maybe just waited, right, or faked a fucking ankle injury, maybe you would have gotten the world title fight. So what would you say to a guy like Belal Muhammad who is sort of idling and waiting for a title fight that may or may not materialize?
It's funny, Belal is one of my friends. So I talked to him. I just hit him up randomly and be like, hey, man, you're on a crazy streak. I think 9 fights in a row. Wait for your title shot.
Right.
They don't come by often. You can go out there and fight somebody, lose a close decision. You can win a fight, lose a split decision, and then you're pretty much back to square one, and it's going to be a long road back, So I think everybody, when they're in that position, they definitely need to wait it out, get their title shot because those things don't come by every day.
Derek, as of right now, the PFL doesn't have a middleweight division. I see this as a great sign that they're opening up a fight here for you. Have you heard anything from the PFL in regards to potentially starting a middleweight division?
I haven't. The plan as of right now is to fight this fight and compete at 205. So, yeah, we're going to play it by ear. The most important thing is this first fight, and then, we'll go from there.
And Derek, you're taking on Ray Brudda Cooper, a guy who's a big-time knockout artist, but some may argue he's a little bit small even for welterweight, right, as far as height and all that stuff. You're a massive middleweight. Tell me about this fight and how you see this thing going down.
For sure. He's a shorter guy, got short reach. I heard a couple of his interviews. He's ready for the fight. He feels he's going to get the knockout. So, I'm ready for the fight. I feel I'm going to get the knockout. But I know some of the mistakes I made in the past of, it's not that I wasn't working hard. I always work hard, but it's small little intricate details like running. If a doctor say, hey, your knees from wrestling may be a little, wear and tear, do strength and conditioning. But no, a guy like me, I need to run, especially when you compete in these high-level fights. You have to be able to keep that pace and maintain that pace. So I've been running my ass off for the last 6 weeks, putting about 7 to 10 miles in a week. So, if anybody's expecting me to get tired, if I get tired, if I'm even breathing hard at all, I will be pleasantly surprised. I plan on going out there, being a brand new me. I've been adding some new wrinkles to my camp at age 39, and I think that's going to be the best version of myself.
That's great to hear, man, especially about the road work. So can you peel back the curtain a little bit as far as the training camp is concerned and who have been some of the primary bodies that you've been working with on the day-to-day?
Yeah, so I went down to Florida for a little bit at Kill Cliff, and I was training down there. Brandon Allen, Gilbert Burns. There's a lot of guys down there. Vicente Luque, and now I'm actually finishing up my camp in Atlanta with the guy that I worked with before, Manu, from Manu Kickboxing. He's a very good kickboxing coach, and it's I'm bringing back the old, when I can just put together tactical strikes. So I'm feeling really good where I'm at right now. Finish up camp there. I got some people coming in for bodies as far as sparring and grappling and stuff like that. And it's kind of camp centered around me opposed to a big camp. At where I'm at right now, I needed a whole bunch of reps and just get back in my groove. And I'm starting to hit that stride. Yeah.
Manu's the man.
He like to talk.
Yeah.
This man will talk your head off. I mean, I'll be like, Coach, let's get to work. I came to work. My hands are wrapped. I don't want to talk anymore, But the thing about him though is that sometimes you go to these bigger camps, it's so many guys, So you kind of get lost in the shuffle in terms of like, let's say it's like 3 or 4 kickboxing coaches, and it's like 50, 60 guys that need pads. The coaches will try to, do pads with like 15 guys at one time, and that's not really conducive to somebody who really need it. Whereas if I go to Manu's going to work with me for like an hour and a half straight, and it's like, I'm like, all right, coach, I'm ready to do something else. I'm ready to go get some food. But he's going to give you that personal work, and I think that's very valuable, for like skill development and like really finding that groove. Because like from like 2 weeks ago to now, I feel like a brand new man.
That's great to hear. Derek Brunson with us here on the Anik Florian podcast. You can see him fight, I believe, the pay-per-view opener November 24th against Rick. Yep.
You guys see my fighter last night?
No.
Who's your guy? Vitor Petrino.
Who's your guy?
Yeah. So I managed him. I started managing him when he was 3-0, and now he's 10-0. So yeah, I dabbled in the management a little bit, but I was super excited about that. So I want to go ahead and let you guys know.
I want to hear that again. You cut out. Man. Maybe it was only on my end. So Vitor is one of several fighters you now manage. Is that right?
Right, correct. I got like I would say like 5 or 6 fighters that I manage. Yeah, Vitor is one of them. I started managing him when he was 3-0, and now he's 10-0, 3-0 in the UFC. So
he's a beast. Well, congratulations. Good for you.
Yeah.
Derek Brunson's next fight, November 24th against Ray Cooper III. And, he's got momentum, right? He's won 7 of 8. I got to think you're excited about that part of things. I want to sort of reflect a little bit before we get you out of here. In terms of your UFC career, I'm sure you get asked a lot, like, what was your most memorable win? I guess I would phrase it a different way. Like, what's the best you ever felt the night following a big win in the UFC?
I would say the first, like, bigger contract that I got was whenever I fought Machida in Sao Paulo. I was able to go out there and get a knockout in the first round. Former UFC champion, super skilled fighter.
Yeah.
And then, after I knocked him out, I believe he went on to win like 3 of his next 4, and he only lost, and he went and fought some tough guys, and he lost like a title eliminator or for the title, maybe against Musashi or something like that.
Yep.
And it was a split decision or something like that. So like, I fought a pretty good guy there. So I would say definitely felt good after that fight. It was my first bigger contract in Sao Paulo. Everything was like against me, and I went out there and got it done.
And then as a 3-time NCAA D2 All-American at the University of North Carolina at Pembroke, Dominic Cruz told me when I started calling fights, the most valuable thing I could do for my commentary would be to watch college wrestling. So anytime we talk to a collegiate wrestler, I have to ask about your college wrestling career and what was that either signature win or signature moment that you reflect fondly upon?
College wrestling, intense. I love every portion of it. I think it helped me as who I am as a human being in life. That was the main reason why I went to college. And my parents didn't go to college, so they didn't know a lot about how to get to college and stuff like that. So like my high school wrestling coach kind of helped me with that process. So definitely was a big shaping of who I am, and, wrestling in college. I was a 3-time All-American, and probably my most memorable moment is the time I did not All-American. Like, me and the guy it was like 5-5 and like triple overtime. It was the first year they made the like new rules. And I stand up and I turn into the guy and I unbreak his grip and the ref put me back down. So it was like, the guy got an extra point for like ride out, whatever. And that was the year I didn't All-American, but I was like up and out. So yeah.
All right. So Deion Sanders, Coach Prime, ranks his children. Now, he does this publicly. I rank my children as well. I have 3 children. My daughters don't like this ranking system. My wife doesn't like it. I'm not always public about it. I tried to pivot off of it and say I'll just do like my toughest kid, like who is my toughest kid at present, because maybe that's a little bit more quantifiable than actually ranking your kids like you're my number 1. But it's crazy to watch Deion go through this process. So as a father of several kids yourself, have you ever ranked your children, Derek?
I don't. I love all kids all the same, but I would say I would defer to what you did. I would say I rank my kids by who has the most attitude, all right? And I would say my oldest has the most attitude. She's 16. Then the second is my youngest. I mean, it's not my youngest, but my youngest daughter, she's 15. So I got a 15 and 16, they got the same birthday. So it's super crazy already.
Oh, wow.
And then the easiest is my 5-year-old, and I guess second or third most attitude is my 8-year-old.
See how ready to go he is, Kenny? It's a great system ranking your
children. I would think that as they get older, they realize that their dad is Derek Brunson, and they'd be like, they'd actually get quieter. You know what I mean? Like, because then they realize the repercussions of what could have. But
not when you have daughters. Not when you have daughters, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, now we have daughters. Sons, yes. Daughters, no.
Yeah. All right, a few more minutes here with Derek Brunson. So January 4th, 2024, you turned 40. Tremendous how much you've accomplished before birthday number 40. So congratulations on all of that. And I'd imagine because of your success in life, it'll be a good birthday. But I just wanted to tell you it was my worst birthday by far, Derek, turning 40.
Over the hill?
I don't know. I mean, I'm 45 right now, and 45 wasn't particularly fun either. But I guess, I just felt like 40, like, fuck, man. Like,
it's crazy because Bob Knight just passed, right?
Right.
And I'm like, yo, like they were showing some clips on ESPN. They were showing like his decline. I was like, yo, this is Bob. Like the last memory of him was him throwing chairs, pushing players, like more like fired up, like I'm your father type figure coach. I don't think he was like trying to be like super crazy malicious, but that was his personality.
Yeah.
And then they showed clips for like the last 2 years where he was like kind of like Muhammad Ali when he was like close to his end. He was like kind of shaking and like kind of there but not there. And I was like, whoa, this is wild because I never seen this like version of Bob Knight. And then he passed away. I was like, so yeah, I mean, the older you get, you're like, damn, like what's going on here? What are we doing here?
Well, but you're sharp as a tack and you're reinventing yourself as a professional athlete. So I will get you out of here on this, right? Maybe at this stage of my career, like I'm sick of traveling the world, would rather be a little bit around my kids. I've talked to Eric Anders, right, about when his kids get to high school, kind of shutting it down at that point in time. I'd imagine you do think about life after fighting, but oftentimes for fighters, the biggest paydays come, when you do get a little bit older. So, do you and your family think about or talk about life after fighting?
Yeah, for sure. I try to keep that balance most important. Like really, I never really cared about fame or like athletics. I always been like a family guy, So like my kids, they will all tell you. They probably say I'm the best dad, like period. That they can have. Because I'm always there, always present. I'll go and I'll fly, fight, and then I'm back home on Sunday. I'm going to the game. I'm coaching my son's t-ball team. So like I just try to keep the most important things intact in life. So you always got to stay busy, always got to stay grinding, and I just kind of, keep the important things with that.
Well, you've done a great job at balancing it all, and we can't wait to watch live on pay-per-view in the PFL against Ray Cooper III, November the 24th. If you want to support this man, DerekBrunson.com, outstanding merchandise and great effort there. DB, good to see your face, man, and don't be a stranger, man. We'll be watching on November 24th. KenFlo will be in the building. Thank you for the time today, sir.
Hey, sounds good. Hey, let's talk about them sports picks sometimes.
Man, I would love to do it. There he is. Derek Brunson with us on the Anik Florian podcast. My last question was going to be about the maintenance to be Blonde Brunson, because when you do it right, I think sometimes you got to spend some time in the chair, but that's a really good man. And, it is interesting, right, to hear him say, as a dad, he really has always been that UFC fighter dad who's always there and always present, sometimes sacrificing maybe the advancement of his own career, not aligning with a big gym until very later in the career, right, to stay at home. And I think I can't help but think about my situation because I'm really not always there. Like, I'm not sure Derek Brunson has ever been away 100, 120 nights a year, but he's really done a lot of things well. And he'll be in the building calling that fight against Ray Cooper III, November 24th.
I'm looking forward to it, man. I'm excited for this new chapter in his career. He's a guy that is always dangerous. You may not always know how he's going to go out there and perform, but he is one of those guys who comes in with a lot of skill. I think he's going to have a huge size and reach advantage over Ray Cooper, who is extremely dangerous in his own right. Curious to see how Cooper comes out at 185 pounds. And Derek, welcome to the PFL.
All right, good to have old friend Derek Brunson with us today here on the Anik Florian podcast.
It's now time for the Ray Longo Minute.
I want you to punch a hole in his fucking chest. That's what I want.
The Ray Longo Minute. Starring Ray Longo. The Jon, Anik, and Kenny Florian podcast.
Holy crap.
Ray Longo minute, not yet presented by the Chicken Pound. They don't send money nor chicken, but it's great to see you, Raymond. How's your
Yeah,
baby. I didn't even see
baby.
your shirt. I swear to God, I didn't see your shirt.
Yes, you did.
I did not see your shirt. How do you like that? Like that shot, Ray? I didn't see your shirt when I said that, but
I mean, Kenny, what's going on? A new studio. He's 3-2. He's 3-2 today. Now he's 3-2 and stuff. I mean, what are we doing? I mean, we were no. Oh wow, we got. I love it.
Oh
wow,
man, you know, I also, and we haven't specialized these to our needs. We will certainly make one of these buttons be our handicapper Brian Petrie saying Betch Kohea, because I need use of that sound.
Yeah.
But one of these buttons is crickets, and sometimes I ask Ray Longo a question, and he just stonewalls me, KenFlo, and sits there. He's like, "What are you asking me?" You know, so. We got a cricket button now in case.
Oh wow, this is unbelievable! I mean, we got here being a grassroots, old school type of podcast. What are we doing? Come on.
All right, so if you really want to know,
what's going on
is of paramount importance, right? For people who ingest this podcast, audio only on iTunes or Spotify or wherever. It is of paramount importance that the audio sound good, right? So we are probably going to work to get you something for the audio. The video stuff is just us showing our audience that we're putting money back into the show and trying to provide these enhancements. You know, this was, KenFlo let me spend money on a new studio. I don't know what to tell you, Rick.
So
well, good.
I was going to say I needed new tires on my car, but you got a new microphone, so I hope you're happy.
If you really
drive around on flat tires.
Hey, do you really need new tires?
Definitely not.
Oh, okay.
I'm a happy camper. I'm a happy camper, John. What do we got? What are we doing today?
Again, this guy trying to segue me to mixed martial arts. Well, I can get you some Toyo tires, courtesy of our friends at Toyo Tires and Stan Cannon. You need tires. See, KenFlo, the car guy needs some tires.
Yeah, give me some Toyos.
I mean, that's a great commercial, John. Great commercial. You did great. There is a spot at the end where you're looking at Forrest. I think, Dom Cruz. I don't know where he's looking. I think you might have to change that commercial. He's not looking at the guy. I mean, you were spot on.
Well, thank you. I don't know if I'm allowed to say this, but we actually have another Toyo Tires shoot later this month.
Wow. Wow.
You want to know what we got for today. So what we have for today, I guess I'd like to start with Brendan Allen, and then we can transition to a few different items. But gosh, man, this looks to me like one of the best middleweights in the world right now, just waiting now for his shot against a top 5 guy, one of all these other middleweight contenders with respect to have had their myriad opportunities either in multiple main events or championship settings. So what were your thoughts on Brendan Allen passing this latest test against Paul Berju-Craig?
Beautiful test for Brendan Allen. Seems like his head's in the right spot. The kid deserves, 100% deserves a top 5 guy. Not only did he beat Paul Craig, he beat him at his own game. The only way that Craig had to beat him, he got submitted. So I think it was a great, great fight. He seems very confident. I like the entourage he brought with him into the octagon. That was pretty cool. It just seems like he's firing on all cylinders at the right time, and still a young kid, and I wish him the best. He's I can't say I know him, but I think I've crossed paths with him a little bit. He seems like a super, super nice kid, and I think that comes across on the microphone as well. So he's got it all. He's got a good presence, nice presence on the microphone, and he's there to fight, and he's looked very technical to me on the ground. That was pretty cool with the calf slicer stuff, right, Kenny?
Yeah.
I mean, that was good stuff, man. So. Not that that's my thing, but it was fun watching, and I think it was a great step up. He passed the test. You got to keep that kid moving. I think he's in the right spot at the right time. He's going to do great.
Do a grappling match, Kenny Florian and Brendan Allen in the not too distant future. Hey, in terms of him having the kid around, though, right? I was not the high school basketball player who you would describe as having ice water in his veins, right? I would more be the high school basketball player who was throwing up in the locker room because it was a night game and we had this huge with all the hip-hop music that I helped pick out. My head was in the wrong place, right? So, but like I was going to ask Kenny maybe the most nervous he's ever been for an athletic endeavor, whether it was a high-profile Boston College soccer game or when he fought BJ Penn or something like that. But like this Brendan Allen, Ray, he's so just that ice water in the veins type of athlete, at least in terms of my eye test, that what I see him with the kid, it doesn't even matter, you know, like he's looking for his daughter right before the fight, while Alex Pereira is giving you a look that will like be fatal, right? Like Brendan Allen across the apex for his daughter and then is able to perform like that. I just think, I don't know if he's able to just compartmentalize it the right way, but he's just ready to perform when it matters all the time, seemingly.
Yeah. Like, you know, the only thing I can say is good to be young. That's it. You ever see like I don't know if this is the same thing, but I had my kids when I was older. I was a paranoid nut. I didn't even want them going out on the front grass. You know, it was a little wacky. The older you get, I think the more you're like that. But when I watch these young kids like Weidman, when his kid's falling off the treadmill on his head, nobody's even batting an eye. It's like normal. It's a different vibe when you're that young. I think that's my only thing I have in my head right now. But that's it. When you get older, you know, it's like, you know, like your grandparents are going to tell you, no, don't do that. But these young kids, when they have kids that young, it's a different mindset. And I think that's what I'm seeing. But
yeah, no, that's fair. I thought you were just saying it was just sort of ignorance is bliss in terms of him competitor. But yeah, you're right. No,
it's not. It's not. Yeah, sorry, John. It's not ignorance is bliss. It's all, when I watch it, I wish I was more like that. I'll be honest with you. Yeah, that's why I say I think we had kids when we were older, so it was a little different. And 35, 36 back then was like 40 now, I think, 42. So it's a different vibe. But I love watching that's the way I think that's the way kids should be raised, you know? I mean, different generations. Like my parents were young when they had, you know, me and my brothers. So things were different. But go ahead. Kenny
and I were basically dying when we chose to procreate.
me more than you, bro.
You know? Yeah. So how old were you, Ray, when you had your first kid? I think I was like 32, but my last one, my son, was born 10 days before I turned 40.
Wow. Yeah, I'm going to say 36 and 37. I had Irish twins. So, you know, but again, it was that's 28 years ago. You know what I mean? So things change even with that. Yeah. Back then, though, I was considered almost like a trendsetter getting married at 35. You know what I mean? Now my advice is 45 minimal.
Yeah.
That's when a real man matures, finally, around 45. That's why.
You know, Kenny, that's even... It doesn't even happen then, but it's a good. I agree with you though. But it's a hope. It's a hope that you do. I mean, I'm still waiting for that aha moment where I go, "Oh wow, I'm actually an adult."
Yeah, exactly.
This is crazy. This is nuts. Uh-oh, John, do we lose you?
No, I'm just thinking in my head. I'm 45, and I would not describe myself as particularly mature.
Yeah, I know it's
not a parent or in certain parental situations, maturity would not be what I would.
Yeah. But we try. We do try, though.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Sometimes. But no, I guess there's certain things, and I hope my mother's not listening to this particular episode, but as I get older, I can't fake emoting or caring about certain things. I can't watch a movie with children involved without crying my eyes out. But in terms of certain familial navigations, right? Don't always care, right? And not always the best at faking that I give a fuck either. All right.
But the fact that you're crying during those movies means there's a human element to you that is very acceptable. Yeah, I mean that covers everything. You don't have to do anything after that.
The UFC fan base that thinks I'm either a robot or a chill, I am actually a human being. Right
now, do you cry in front of it? Do you cry in front of everybody, or are you trying to sneak, like, you know, you're wiping your eyes while the thing's going on so nobody knows? Because that's what I do. I make like I'm blowing my nose. My allergies. My allergies all of a sudden.
My eye.
Yeah. Anybody have a tissue? I got something in my eye.
I try to hide it.
Okay. I just want to make sure.
So just one feel-good thing before I get to one of our listeners who had a criticism of our last episode. So Jason Jackson and Patchy Mix. I'm not sure if you saw this Bellator show. But
yeah,
I just think both of the wins speak to what makes MMA great, right? Just everything that Patchy Mix has done just in terms of the hard work to prove to the world that he's one of the best 135 pounders, even though he hasn't had the stage nor the spotlight. And then Jason Jackson at 33 years of age, I would hesitate to call him a journeyman, but he was always just, the teammate who maybe came up short in the big moment. And I don't know, man, it just makes me feel really good to see, Jason Jackson in particular realize a world title. That's all I got.
No, listen, man, Patchy Mix on another level at this point. He deserves, I'm not saying better competition that way, but he deserves to really get in the mix. Here's the problem, and it's a compliment, and Patchy Mix is awesome. I know he's bad. I think he's pretty close with Aljo Marab. He seems like a nice guy, but here's the problem, and this is why I'd like to see the kid get some attention. In Boston, I think Matt runs into, who's his girlfriend, Tatiana Suarez?
Yes.
And he's, they're talking, and, Patchy's obviously her boyfriend. He goes, they felt like an asshole, but he said to him, do you fight? The guy's the champion of Bellator. That's the issue. Like, you know what I mean? You got to get those eyeballs on you. So I think this kid deserves to be in the UFC just for the fact that he deserves like more recognition than he's getting. Based on that, I'm just basing on that. It's right. You don't even know who the guy is. The guy's one of the best in the world. You know what I mean? Right. If not the best. So I'd love to see that kid get other competition because I think he deserves it, and he is coming into his own, and he looks like a problem for anybody.
Yeah. Part of my process, actually, before my fighter meeting with Tatiana Suarez was to do a little bit of a deeper dive into Patchy Mix, so that when he walks in the room, I knew what I was dealing with. And I wanted to make that guy feel like $1 million. All right.
Very nice. Very nice.
A YouTube comment from our UFC 295 recap from our great listener, Dixie Chan. This woman has listened to probably 425 of the 450 episodes we have done. Longtime supporter of mine and the show, but she's also not afraid to be critical of me on a live broadcast or me on the Anik Florian podcast. So look alive out there, KenFlo. I want you to hear this as well. All right, Raymond, here we go. So this is from Dixie Chan 5 days ago. Wasn't the best Ray Longo minute, to be honest. And this is no criticism of you, Ray, by the way. It's all coming at the
it's all good. No, you can criticize me all you want.
Just like in my family, right? I take all the fucking bullets, all right? Wasn't the best Ray Longo minute, to be honest. When there's a pay-per-view with big fights, a card which is arguably the best of the year, it may not be the good idea to schedule some other interview in the same show. It felt like such a hasty minute and not giving Ray the opportunity to go in depth. And there was no coverage on the Mackenzie Dern Jessica Andrade fight, nor the Diego Lopez fight. We did cover Diego Lopez, but I love you, Dixie Chan. Would have loved to have Ray give his take from a coach's perspective on Dern's fight progression and the change of coaches. There was a similar incident on the show a few months ago when you scheduled Brian Petrie on the same show as Ray Longo, and as a result, had to rush Longo the same way you do on this show. Please don't cram interviews on a big pay-per-view like that. Was looking forward to this show all day on a historic fight card, and it didn't deliver.
No. Damn. How dare you?
They want more Longo, Ray.
Yeah, thank you, Dixie Chan. There'll be a T-shirt in the mail to you. Pick whichever one you want. It's on me. Thank you very much. But holy crap! Hey, how are those mugs going? Did you see that promo that Laura Sanko cut? Come on,
it's good,
guys.
Very good.
Oh, you didn't see that? Oh my God, very sensual. Oof, very, very. I mean, if you don't buy a mug after that. Can we have Laura Sanko drink out of every mug before they go out to people? I think that might help sell them. I don't know.
She doesn't even need to say anything. She doesn't even need to say
an idea.
Out of the mug, put it down.
No, I think that's a good idea. But can I just tell you guys, right? Sometimes when you launch a website or you have some professional or personal initiative, sometimes it's a lens into who are your true supporters, or I guess who are your hardcore supporters, right? Like our producer Lappy and Laura Sanko were two of the first people to go to johnanik.com and buy merchandise, right? So Laura on her own went and bought merchandise, right? It's not like Raymond Peter Longo's.
Wow.
Right? So we sent her some other stuff. We sent her something for her husband, right? But it's like she went and bought something for herself. And obviously that touched me in my heart. But yeah, so can we get to this comment from Dixie, please?
Yes. So let me start.
Please.
The Mackenzie Dern fight. Wow. That was I'm going to tell you, I don't. First off, it's funny. I must have seen it. I didn't hear it, but I think Petrie, did he have a lock on Andrade in that fight? Like that was his. Somebody did. I go, what?
I picked Andrade. I think
I got to tell you,
Andrade and Petrie picked McKenzie. I think.
Oh, I thought McKenzie. Oh, that's good. I thought McKenzie Dern was a lock in that fight. You know what I mean? I thought she was a lock. I don't know what I was looking at. That was a regression. That's not good. I thought Perillo was doing a great job with her. She looked comfortable, in the pocket at times or with her striking. I saw her. I was kind of blown away in the opposite direction of what I saw. But word through the grapevine is, when you get a new boyfriend, things could change, something like that. But Perillo, I saw when I went out, I saw Perillo. Oh, no, that was in the other thing, but whatever. But he wasn't in the corner is what I'm trying to say. And right. I saw the whole team backstage when I was with, I think, Nas getting stitched up. But, yeah, I don't know, man. That was not – she's got to go – I think she's got to get back to basics. And I thought she was on a really good trajectory upwards. I thought that was a big slide backwards. I don't know if that's what your take is, but I didn't like what I saw at all.
Kenny, sometimes I'm hesitant to get too technical, especially in your presence, right? Because you're too nice a guy to put me in my place, right? But Mackenzie Dern, right, hasn't developed her offensive wrestling the way maybe some expected to get the fight to that special area that is her jiu-jitsu, right? But Francisco Grasso, to my eyes, has turned Diego Lopez, a Brazilian jiu-jitsu black belt and the Team Lobo grappling coach, into a really layered striker who knows how to feint and switch stances and do all of these things. So I'm not saying that Mackenzie Dern can't become this elite striker, but sometimes I feel like the energy isn't always channeled in that way of either, becoming a great offensive wrestler or really becoming a great striker. And I don't know what your thoughts were on Mackenzie Dern in defeat 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, I think there's a lot to unpack there, and I certainly don't have all the answers as to what the issue is, but I do think that she's leaving a lot on the table by not focusing on her wrestling. If jiu-jitsu is the most dangerous thing that you bring to a fight, then you got to get that fight to the ground. And I think that's where there's always been a deficiency there. Listen, some grapplers will never be great strikers. Okay. I think that's pretty fair to say. From my experience, certain guys, they just don't get it. The footwork, they're too stiff or whatever it is. Yeah. You can make them dangerous. Doesn't mean they can't be knockout artists or be dangerous, but to be great strikers, some grapplers just won't ever get there. Now, how do you bring their grappling more to the forefront? Like Khabib Nurmagomedov was not the best striker in the world, but man, he did not get hit. And he would get a hold of you and you'd be on your back shortly thereafter. And then you'd never get back up again. Mackenzie Dern is so dangerous with her submission game. I don't understand why there hasn't been a focus on her just being the best takedown artist that she can be at this stage of the game. Let's focus all our energy on that. How do you get to a clinch safely? And how do you put someone on their back as efficiently as possible? That's what she should have been focusing on. And I agree with Ray. I think there was a regression in her striking. I don't know if it's fair to say, hey, because she went with someone else, that's what's happening here. Maybe that's
right. Maybe, yeah.
However, sometimes when you're in a certain groove with a certain coach and you switch things up, even if that coach is even better in some regards, it takes you a little while to get on board with their methodology, with their training, all those things. So I think that, how you focus your energy and what you focus on in training really does matter. And I'm not sure that was really taken advantage of in a fight. Time is the most important thing that we have for life and for training. And if you're not maximizing that thing optimally, then you're doing yourself a disservice.
Yeah, let me touch on that. They're really, really good. What I meant with the striking too, but the wrestling is another issue. But I just thought she was coming along very nicely with the striking. I mean, she reverted back to swinging wild. Couldn't have put her head more up in the air than it was. So I agree with you with the coaching because obviously I go through it. It takes time. People come to me, I'll spend 3 weeks with you. No, it doesn't work like that, right? But you know what it is. You're Ray Longo. You can deny that 100%. I'm very, I 100%. we're looking at a year. We're not looking at 3 weeks, buddy. You know what I mean? So I agree with that, but you still can't go from having somewhat of a structure so to me, I think it's more psychological than physically. I don't think you could even lose that like that. You know what I mean? So I don't know. As far as the wrestling, all I'm going to say, and I'm going to speak probably at a line in a way, but getting a fight to the floor is way harder than keeping a fight standing up, I think everybody's takedown defense is so squared away that if you're not Bo Nickel and you got to expend energy that you don't want to expend, you're not doing it. Like it's everybody's got decent takedown defense. What we do in the gym, get up against the cage. I mean, it's not easy to get a guy down unless you're really at a high level. Like she wasn't a wrestler, so she has to learn wrestler. She's going to go up against like a Tatiana Suarez that's been wrestling. That's a hard ask, man. Now on the floor, it's a different story, but I do agree that's where your time should be spent, and you should be as crazy as getting that fight to the floor as the people that don't want to go to the floor. You know what I mean? That's the way it's got to be. But I see it in the gym. If you're expending a lot of energy and then you got to come back up and strike, and that could have been even what happened. She got so tired trying to get the fight to the floor that it just discombobulates her striking altogether because now you're exhausted, right? Yeah. So that's a tricky one, man. I do agree with philosophically it's right, but it's not easy getting the fight to the floor.
Yeah, and I don't mean over the course of this training camp, right? Like that's not going to happen. Just the same way with striking, it takes so long to get your wrestling in order. It did for me anyway. But as far as when she started her MMA career, when she found out she was going to go into the UFC, like that should have been the path years ago. Your decisions that you make happen years ahead. And I agree I just don't think she's doing that at this stage of the game. And we also have to say that was a tough stylistic matchup for her. Going against someone like Andrade, who is really strong on the feet. She's good with her takedown defense and wrestling and all that stuff. And she's so powerful. That was a tough matchup for her. She took some big lumps in that fight. She got knocked down a few times. She took some big shots. I'm just glad it wasn't one of those where you're like, man, is she going to be the same after that one? I don't think it was that bad. So I think she can come back from it, but it was kind of close. You don't want to take a whole lot of damage when you're that small of a person. And I don't know. I hope she's able to regroup because Mackenzie is so sweet and so nice, and she is so talented. So hopefully she's able to regroup and get everything going. And she's dealing with a lot outside of the cage as well. Can't forget that.
Right. I think. Look, when I was doing accounting, like if a guy got divorced, don't even talk to the guy for 6 months. He's going to be useless. That was definitely the term you're going to do. Anybody that's been through a divorce or watched the people go through a divorce. It is. You can't do two things. There's no way you could go through a divorce and fight. I really don't, unless you're a special person, because that shit, especially her, who, for I guess obvious reasons, she's the supporter. She's got to pay the other person.
Domestic violence.
Yeah, right. I mean, think about it. I mean,
there's a ton of stuff.
we're going in another direction, but based on that, I don't even blame her performance. I really don't. I'm not even kidding. I think that's how psychologically messed up you get. Because, Kenny, it almost looked like the old school jiu-jitsu guys that didn't want to get off their ass, like when they got knocked down. And it was a regression to me. But now that we're talking about it, it makes more sense that I think mentally I don't think she could be there. I've watched people get destroyed, and it takes a real special person to be able to do more than one thing when you're getting divorced. And that's going to take her a while. But, because again, with the wrestling, you're right. To look how Blanchfield made that fight look easy, and she can wrestle. You know what I mean?
And Andrade has been dealing with that as well. We should say too.
100. I mean, think about that. I don't know if it's. I don't know what that's about, but that's crazy though. Yeah, but you're right though. They both were dealing with it. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know if Dixie Chan wanted 9 minutes on all of that stuff.
We gave it to her.
I was saying, closer. By the way, Dixie, you have my email if you want to be an associate producer and fire me up. Is Ray Longo formalized question? So if Dixie and Ray, maybe you guys could collaborate on what the fuck you want me to ask Dixie. If you would like to email me, Questions for Ray. You have my email address. We can do that. I do think real quick, in all seriousness,
Hey.
He's killing me.
not a great time to be fighting Andrade, right? She was in desperation mode, her 5th fight of the year, right? Lost 3 in a row, like total desperation time for her. And I would say of Mackenzie Dern, like she's not afraid to get hit. That's for damn sure, right? She is tough. She has shown measures of heart at times in these fights. And you just have to wonder about the pressure of expectations. When was it first presented to Mackenzie? Like, hey, you know, you just beat Gabby Garcia in a jiu-jitsu match in which there was a 100-pound differential. Like, maybe you should try mixed martial arts. I feel like there's always been that pressure. And I've never peeled back the curtain with Mackenzie Dern to know how much she really wanted this career. I think she does want to be a fighter and be a world champion, but, you know, everything has to align for that to happen. Do you guys have anything else on Mackenzie Dern?
It depends.
I think we squeezed everything we could out there, right?
Does first off, your passive aggressiveness, John, is not appreciated on this show. Does Dixie Chan have anything else she would like us to discuss? We're here to please the fans.
We are. Are we not listener and viewer first?
It's not about you. It's not about your new studio anymore. It's about the fans.
That's right. All right. I have a few more things with Ray Longo before we go. This question comes in from one of our great listeners, Sebastian Constantino. He was at UFC 295, Madison Square Garden in New York. And he said, scale of 1 to 10, how is Ray Longo's hip? Because he got the procedure done in August. And even though he didn't notice anything resembling a noticeable limp when he was observing you live and in color at UFC 295, he said you were moving a little bit slowly. So scale of 1 to 10, the procedure happened in August. Kindly give Sebastian and everybody else an update on the hip replacement, if you'd be so kind.
Well, I think I'm at a 7 or an 8. You know, no pain, but I'm still. I haven't thrown a kick yet, but I'll send you some videos of me hitting. I'm trying to get my balance and speed back. No, it's. I think it's. I'm going to say a 7.
What do you need to be throwing kicks for? Just because you want to stay active? You're a kickboxer at your core.
I don't know. Yeah, cardio. You know, I don't know. Yeah. Boredom.
No. Yeah.
I just think at our advanced age, we're trying to
do things that aren't going to get me hurt, you know?
Well, that's where I'm at, though.
More that I like play sports, even though I would love to basketball 5 days a week.
Yeah, that's where I'm at. But at the end of the day, I just don't want to grow up, John.
Yep. All right. Thanks for the question, Sebastian. And then lastly, the World MMA Awards are Thursday, December 14th in Las Vegas, Nevada. Now, you are twice nominated for the Anik Florian podcast and also Coach of the Year. I don't know as to whether or not you've won this hardware, but our great friend of the program, Big Ron Betts, Ron Pellegrino, owner of the Paradise Cantina.
Oh, wow, he's the best.
To a suite at Virgin if you do decide to join us in Las Vegas. So I understand with the hip and everything else, you know, you can be an excuse machine.
He's thinking about it.
You know, I'm just saying, Ron has booked you a suite under the name Raymond Peter Longo if you are so inclined and want to be there to at least clap for the person who wins the awards in our respective categories.
And that's Thursday the 14th.
Thursday, December 14th. We'd like to congratulate the Coach of the Year, Francisco Grasso.
Oh, I tell you. I'll tell you, I don't even think I could. I'll tell you a funny story. The last time I was nominated for Coach of the Year, but whatever. We're going to save that.
We got time. We got a minute.
No. We're going to
coming up in a minute. Go ahead.
We'll save that for when we're on the phone together.
Ooh, I like those. I like those conversations.
Yeah.
All right. Well, just think about it. We'll see if we see you there, and you know, we can get you suited and booted from Mark Russell if you don't have a suit. You know, I don't know if it's black.
Oh,
tie.
wow.
Yeah.
You get me suited with Mark Russell, I'm coming out.
All right. Hopefully Mark Russell is listening and watching.
What are you doing now?
Look at that hat.
Look at this guy. Man, he's a machine now, Kenny. We lost him. He's a marketing machine, this man. He's a marketing machine.
What, you think I'm a marketing machine? I've never been described as such, really.
Well, here's what happened. Who wouldn't want Jon Anik as their spokesperson, right?
I tell you what, this man speaks beautifully. You really no, he really does know. He has a command of the English language like very few people do.
Well, thank you.
You know,
That means a tremendous lot. Wow.
No, very. Oh, come on, man. You're well spoken. You're thought out. You know,
Thanks,
look at
buddy.
the notes you take each fight. Come on. Think me and Kenny are taking notes. We come in and we wing it out of our ass every week.
Exactly.
You're taking. No, I mean, this is horrible. I feel guilty.
You're the man. Hey, you know how much love I got for you. We'll connect this week. Have a happy Thanksgiving and enjoy the UFC respite. Buy the pay-per-view KenFlo ESPN Plus pay-per-view on a PFL this weekend. So,
is it pay-per-view?
Friday night, Friday on pay-per-view, KenFlo. I'm on. I'm doing it. Where is the fight?
In DC, Washington, DC.
Oh man, when are you back to New York? Do you know?
That's a good question. Next year for sure.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll be back.
All right, cool, man. I'm looking forward to that, man. So we have fights this weekend.
Yes, sir.
Friday. So happy with that, John.
Yeah, Black Friday. I'll be watching the Jets and the Dolphins, and then KenFlo in my nightcap. You know, a little Basil Hayden's. All right, Reverend. Hey, have a great day and a better evening. Enjoy your Sunday. National Football League beckons at 1 p.m. Eastern if you're so inclined.
Yeah, I'll be there. I'll talk to you guys later. Great talk today, Dixie Chan. I hope you answered that question, man. I'll tell you what, I like the ring of that name, Dixie Chan.
Dixie Chan, the associate producer of the Anik Florian podcast.
Awesome. Cody's done. So you just fired Cody for Dixie Chan.
Cody has executive. No, we didn't fire. Cody's the executive producer. Right?
Now we have executive producer. Kenny, this show is taking off, man.
I'm sure Cody's wondering right now, but
it's the whole hierarchy.
So, right? Like, why? Cody's probably like, well, then why don't you let me make more decisions? I let Cody make a lot of decisions. He's the executive producer, and then Dixie Chan comes in below him at associate producer.
Wow.
And we'll figure out. Yeah. Go ahead. Sorry.
Who are those guys? What are those guys on the movie set? Gaffers, grifters. What are those guys?
Key grip.
Key grip. Do we have any of those guys laying around?
I don't know.
I'm done. I'm done.
Have a great day.
Talk to you. Hey, happy Thanksgiving, guys. Really enjoy it with your families. I'll talk to you next week. Take it easy, guys.
Thank you, buddy. Ray Longo. Every week here on the Anik and Florian podcast. All right. I promise you I'm not going to be as annoying with that next week and in the weeks to come. All right, I believe we have Spencer Miller on the guest line now joining us. Long time. Look, you're the fucking man, Spencer. I didn't want to cuss that early. Now, long time UFC fan, friend of mine, supporting the Toronto Blue Jays and just looking like $1 million as usual. What's up, my man? How we doing?
How you doing, guys?
We are doing well. So this is a long time coming, and we have been waiting to talk to you. You are a big NFL fan, obviously a UFC fan. You have been confined to a wheelchair for your entire life. You have gone on to realize great success professionally as a motivational speaker. I run through the list of guests that you have talked to on your own show and some of your professional endeavors, and I have so many different questions, but I guess I just would like to start with your UFC fanaticism, if I could call it that. So we're not all that many hours removed from Brendan Allen beating Paul Craig in a UFC main event at the Apex. It's one of 41 UFC fights a year. I know you're supporting me with text messages and suggestive pay-per-view copy for me every week. Do you watch all 41 of these shows? And if not, how many of these live events are you actually ingesting?
Absolutely not. I don't watch all 41 because, quite frankly, I get too much mileage on my chair. I'm going from one place to another all the damn time. So I watch as many as I can, but definitely not all 41. KenFlo, it's nice to see you, by the way, as well. I haven't seen you in a long, long time. The last time I saw you was at breakfast with one of our favorites, Mark Delagrati, a.k.a. The individual who likes to be the bougiest person on the road in the entire UFC roster because he likes to walk into hotel lobbies with his Gucci suitcases or his Louis Vuitton suitcases and different things like that. I have no idea what the hell's going on with that guy. The main reason I hang out with him, the main reason I hang out with him is the same reason I hang out with Jon, candidly, and that's because both of them are more handicapped than I am. So there you go.
I knew that was coming. So, yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's brilliant.
So you've had the chance to talk to Dana White, to talk to George St. Pierre, to work alongside Kiefer Sutherland in Designated Survivor. but I would say you're probably your most important life's work would be speaking and sort of imparting, your knowledge and how you've dealt with your sort of given hand, right? I mean, wouldn't you say that has been your greatest contribution, even though you've done obviously higher profile things than that?
Well, I would say yes and no, because obviously I can't get away from the fact that I'm in a wheelchair. My disability is my disability. I've had it my entire life, but in the end, I don't think about my disability but for 5 seconds on average throughout the course of a day when I open my eyes first thing in the morning and say, oh shit, I can't walk still. All right, great. And that's about it, So do I like supporting the handicapped community and being a voice for the handicapped community? Absolutely, but it hasn't defined my career or who I am as an individual. It just happens to be part and parcel with what I do. And also, in full disclosure, for those who don't know, who are watching this or listening to this right now, the UFC has had an individual with them for a long, long time by the name of Stephen Quinn as well. And Stephen Quinn is also in a wheelchair. And for years and years and years, when I was on the road with the UFC almost every week, Stephen would annoy the living shit out of me and come up to me every week and say, Spence, we need to race. We need to race. And I would always say to him, no, I'm not fucking racing you. This is not happening. Okay. And then we had a UFC event here in Toronto. It was Gustafsson versus Jones, and we were at the hotel, and I was having food with Dan Mergliotta and my assistant / friend Sean, who you've both met a couple of different times. And once again, he came up to me and he said, Spence, we need to race. And I said, fine, fuck it. We're in my hometown. I want to finally shut you up. We're going to do it right now. So we did it in the lobby of the Westin Harbor Castle Hotel. I started with Stephen Quinn at one end of the lobby. Mergliotta and Sean went to the other end of the lobby to ref it. And needless to say, it was like Fast and the Furious. I smoked his ass right off the line, and he never asked me to race ever again.
I'm going to have to corroborate that with Steven, Spencer.
Okay, great.
I love it. That's hilarious. All right, so, Spencer, when did you become a UFC fan?
So, in 2009, a gentleman by the name of Tom Wright was appointed as the president of UFC Canada when they were opening up the new big UFC Canada office. And right before that, he was the commissioner of the Canadian Football League. And I was working with the Toronto Argonauts at the time, and we had become friends. And then I had stopped working with the Argonauts, but still remained friends with Tom Wright. So at his introductory press conference at the Rogers Center, aka Skydome, it'll always be the Skydome for me, personally speaking. I went down there, and Lorenzo was there, and Dana was there, and everybody was there. And as I do in most situations, I left an impression and quickly became friends with everybody. And that led me to go to over 93 fights, I believe it was, in different cities and things like that. And I always sat right next to Joe Silva and Rogan and all of those guys. So I was right there. There was actually a drinking game that was created on the internet because every time people saw me on a pay-per-view, they would take a shot. So a lot of people got drunk because of me, essentially. I just loved it. And, back then especially, it was thought of as quite the family within the organization, and wonderful people like Michelle Watkins did my travel a lot of the time, and Liz Hedges and Donna Marcolini and all these people on and on and on down the list. And of course, our beloved Susie, who would come up and give me a bear hug cage side multiple times and scare the living shit out of me because I didn't know that she was coming.
You know,
those are some awesome people you just mentioned, man.
Yeah, right. I mean, Kenny knows a lot of those people. Obviously, Donna's still there. Michelle Watkins still in the travel department. Yeah, she's outstanding.
He's not this MMA noob. 93 live events. So what is your most memorable event out of all of those?
John knows the answer to this because I talk about it all the time. But it was the all heavyweight card that we had a number of years ago in Vegas, and only for the simple reason that it was all finishes that night. So we got out of the arena and done the press conference by 9 o'clock, which never happens. And I was like, oh my God, I can actually get a few hours of sleep before I have to hop on the shuttle and go back to the airport.
Right. So Spencer Miller with us here on the Anik Florian podcast. I have to ask you about Kiefer Sutherland and your experience on Designated Survivor. I would encourage people to check it out if you have not seen Spencer's appearance. But you talk about leaving an impression, and I don't know if you were always comedically inclined, but certainly the jumping off point to our relationship was like you just making me laugh out loud within 30 seconds of me meeting you, not unlike the way you probably had our audience grasped by just the way you sort of enter a room with a presence. So how did that acting opportunity come about, and how much credit do you deserve as an individual for your ability with your personality and your disposition to break down those doors?
Well, I've always been in the entertainment business with my motivational speaking and been fortunate enough to work with some great people. You know, we can go down the list, but I don't really want to pump my own tires, even though out of the three of us right now, I'm the only one that can pump tires because I'm always in a chair, but I digress.
Can we get some Toyo tires on your wheelchair? Is that possible?
Yes, we can get some Toyo tires on my. But the way that the Designated Survivor thing happened was when Kiefer started doing 24, he said to me, he's like, if I ever do a show in Toronto, I want you to be a fucking part of it. To which I said, yeah, whatever. And I just brushed it off. And then I get a call in 2017 early saying, hey, Spence, I'm fucking coming to Toronto doing a new political thriller, kind of like 24 meets The West Wing. And I want you to be a part of it. And I want you to come and meet with the showrunner of the show and the person who created the show, David Guggenheim. And so we sat down and we talked about what my character would be over beer and chicken wings. And 3 hours later, I was part of the show.
That's amazing. So you talked to George St. Pierre, you talked to Dana White. What's the most memorable guest or interview that you've ever done on your podcast where you maybe like hang up the headset or put down the headset and you're just like, man, you know, that one's going to be hard to top?
Well, this may be an obscure one for your audience, but there's a gentleman by the name of Sean Foley, who is also a fellow Canadian. He is a very successful swing coach. He used to be Tiger Woods' swing coach at one time and worked with Justin Rose and a whole bunch of PGA golfers right now. And the reason why that one is most memorable for me is because he's the one who taught me how to initially golf from my wheelchair while he was still here in the Toronto area. And he said to me that because of his interactions with me and hanging out with me and his friendship with me, he was able to come to grips with the fact that his son might have been born with cerebral palsy due to a defect that was happening. And they had to come up with a decision in a very short period of time as to whether or not to keep the baby or get rid of the baby. They ultimately kept the baby because of his interactions with me and seeing that I could do everything that I do. And luckily, his kid was able to overcome that, and he's perfectly fine now, and he's a teenager. But that one for me has always stuck out to me because he never told me that story until he was on the podcast, and he started literally crying on the podcast while telling me it, and it has always stuck with me because of that.
Wow. Man, that's incredible. On Instagram, you can find him at the Spencer Miller. And, you know, there's nothing worse for me, KenFlo, than when I finish my pay-per-view open copy, and sometimes I'll put it out there to the masses on Instagram, and then Spencer will text me something better, as actually happened, I think, with UFC 295. And I'm already too deep into the memorization part of it to circle back. But Spence, you know, keep those texts coming. I will see you in Toronto in January. We appreciate you supporting the show and the UFC. And, dude, keep making us laugh. Keep being the fucking soldier and good egg that you are, brother.
Absolutely. And KenFlo, this is the least amount of time ever in all of our interactions that you've talked. So next time I'm on the show, actually step up a little bit, because I can't step anywhere, and actually talk a little bit, shall you? You're giving Delagrati way too much credit here with his Gucci bags and his Louis Vuitton bags here, you know?
Oh, man. That is gold, dude. Great to see you, man.
Hey, best of luck week 11, handicapping the board. Go Blue Jays, go Leafs. We'll talk to you soon, brother.
And careful how you say handicapping the board when I'm on the show. Just putting it out there.
You're right. Your verb choice could have been a little better. Hey, capping the board. Betting the board. Are you betting today?
Yes, I am. And just as my last point, because I know that you wanted to talk to me about this, but we didn't get to it, I believe that the Niners obviously hit their bump in the road. They were able to get back on track last week, and I believe that that is going to continue. I also think that it is unfair a little bit that Brock Purdy got ultimately thrown under the bus as heavily as he did during that three-game losing streak, because you know that something like that was inevitably going to happen for him. So I believe that they are back on the right track. Their defense is absolutely stacked, especially matching up the old Ohio State teammates in Chase Young and Nick Bosa. And look out for my Niners at Super Bowl 58 in just a couple months here.
Dude, I had San Francisco 49ers in my notes to ask you about the Niners, but I think I was so distracted by the aesthetic with your cool blue shades, fucking gangster look on a Sunday morning that I didn't get to it. But I think your analysis is spot on as usual, and we'll see if the 49ers make me rip up my Philadelphia Eagles to win the NFC ticket. Hey, Spencer, we appreciate the time, brother. I will see you in actually like 2 months from tomorrow, brother, but thanks for coming on.
Absolutely. Always a pleasure. Looking forward to doing it again soon. And KenFlo, we're going to keep in touch so I can continue to bust your balls from afar as well, my friend.
Please do.
Yeah, I'm going to give you his number. It's 508. I'll text you the rest of it later. Thanks, Spence.
Okay, bye.
There he is, Spencer Miller, with us here on the Anik Florian podcast. Always just right there. I mean, this dude will call me and within 10 seconds just takes a shot and I'm crying, right? You know, because I take a lot of shots, right? I love when people take shots at me.
Right.
So this last thing sort of in closing today is a little bit self-serving, but for the first time in 13 years of doing this, after a UFC champion won a fight, he sent me I got a private message from somebody who won a championship. Now, I have had a lot of communication with fighters over the years, but I can never recall an instance where I get a message from somebody who won a championship. So this is Tom Aspinall on Wednesday after the pay-per-view. Hey, John, just want to say thanks for the great work this weekend and representing us fighters in the correct light. Your commentary work and reaction to my win was simply incredible. Keep doing your thing, brother. Speak soon. Now, that text for me, I'm only sharing it with the Anik Florian podcast audience because candidly, it's a smaller audience than on Instagram or out there on social media. I'm sharing it here, Kenny, because like, that's all I'm trying to do, right? Like that's worth more than $100,000 for me, right? Is that a champion goes home and even that champion who maybe didn't like that I had coined him the honey badger or had gotten to that point, right? Like that overall, when he's looking back at the totality of that week, that the commentators are trying to put him forward in the best possible light. And I'd imagine my broadcast partners got a similar message, right? But like that is all we're trying to do. And, you know, because we're so embedded, we were able to get Andy Aspinall's name in the fight, even though the fight was only 69 seconds, because we knew that was the rub and that was the most important thing for Tom. And I think maybe he's sending that message because we were able to, put some shine on his father. But I just wanted to thank Tom for that publicly, because for me, Kenny, it's like there's nothing like that, right? Like we're trying so hard, almost too hard, right? You're in the same boat to provide this great soundtrack for these historical moments of their lives. And it doesn't always go as planned. It never goes perfectly, but I don't know, man, getting that message was super overwhelming for me. That's all. So.
No question about it, dude. I mean, these guys work so hard. These are some of the most important moments of their life. And to get that level of feedback and to feel, fulfilled by someone who is giving the narrative of their fights and giving the people who are watching that level of information and that background, that context, all that stuff is so important, dude. But yeah, man, that's why you're the best.
That's why Tommy Aspinall's a world champion, because he's a total package. All right, that's going to do it for this 450th edition of the Anik and Florian podcast. Don't forget to check out KenFlo PFL live on ESPN Plus pay-per-view. That is this Friday night, November 24th from the Anthem in Washington, D.C. Kenny doesn't like photos, though. So I don't know how you guys want to navigate that. Maybe you like the Aussies are always great. They just want to shake your hand. They don't even necessarily want a photo. So Kenny doesn't like photos, but if you say you're an Anik and Florian podcast, no, he does. Sean O'Connell fucking hates photos, though.
Yes. Yeah.
But no, the photogenic KenFlo wants photos at the PFL broadcast. And if you do drop an Anik and Florian podcast on him, quickest way to his heart. Thanks to Derek Brunson. Thanks to Spencer Miller. Thanks to Ray Longo. Thanks to our executive producer, Cody Merrow, associate producer, Dixie Chan, technical director / production assistant, Will Berger. With that, for KenFlo, I'm Jon Anik. We will talk to you next week. Happy Thanksgiving. Until then, be well, be healthy. Feel later.
Are you sure we're not in the Boston Now every time I start a verse, I break at least 3 commandments. Kinda like Pluto, because I never planned it. I'm outlandish in a way that make Apaches look like they own ranches. It's the art of war. Your blood's the only color on the canvas. And I don't mean it like a thug sense of how you can get got. Fuck being gangsta, I'm hip-hop. You got it? Every time you walk in the label, the A&R's like nodded. Immune to your shit, cause I circle, dotted. Body heat is a toxic leak. Got a beat, I don't got it. Street cop and see, start to think psychic link. Make the speakers peak and lead us sleep. Off their high horse, make an ass of their views. Your DJ must not know the alphabet, forgetting his cues. My favorite DJ got those and 6 extra L's to abuse. Esoteric John P. and I'm the new kid at school. I'm Radar Ellis, nice to meet you. Short busting my styles. Egocentric, ego tripping with frequent fly smiles.
DJ wants to get at the bird. He gets at the bird. And bird takes the shot.
You wanna set it on us? We got comedos on us.